tell me if the story I heard is right. Apparently, I ain't checking or something like that, and somebody tried to shoot y'all, or that's the story. He said you got shot, and Brandon Buckingham's cameraman got shot. But I look at you, you look all right.
Yeah.
What happened, brother?
Nah, we was in the studio. I was in the studio. Bang, I get out there. Bang.
Were you in an area you shouldn't be, though? Be honest.
I wasn't nowhere I shouldn't be. I don't know. I was where I wanted to be. I was in the studio. I leave out the studio. Whoa, 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 whoa.
As soon as you leave the studio?
Once I leave the studio, whoa, 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 whoa. I get hit in my leg. That shit go in and out of my leg.
You tell me a real story?
Yeah.
You really got shot?
Yeah. Oh shit, like, damn.
Skrilla went to Chicago to link up with Bloodhound Q50, got ambushed outside the studio with 60 rounds fired at close range, took a bullet in the thigh, and came out of it dissing Q50 on camera. Q50 responded by calling him an out-of-town goofy. That is where we are. And to understand how a collaboration night turned into one of the messiest public fallouts in recent Chicago drill history, you need both sides of this story. The personal situation between Skrilla and Q50, and the much larger war between Bloodhound and Risky Road that was the actual backdrop. The night that changed everything was September 2024. Skrilla came to Chicago to record and link up with Q50 and content creator Brandon Buckingham. Buckingham matters to this story because of what he does. He embeds himself with rappers in their neighborhoods, films their music sessions, their daily movement, their street life, and posts it for his audience. Some people in the culture find it entertaining. Others find it dangerously provocative, the kind of content that puts a spotlight on people and locations that were already hot. He had been documenting both Skrilla and Bloodhound members for a stretch before this night. After the studio session at Fort Knox Studios wrapped, the group walked out into the parking lot. 6 masked gunmen were waiting. Over 60 rounds were fired at close range. The cameraman was grazed in the neck. 3 others were hit. Skrilla was shot in the thigh. Initial reports spread online claiming he had been shot in the neck and was in critical condition. Skrilla himself posted on Instagram shortly after to put those rumors to rest, showing he was alive and moving. But the shooting had happened, it was real, and it was connected to something much bigger than a random attack. What happened between Skrilla and Q50 after that night is where the story gets personal. The specifics of their private conversation were never laid out publicly, but what emerged through Skrilla's music and social media made his position clear. He came to believe that rolling through Bloodhound territory with Q50 had put him directly in the line of fire, that Q50's ongoing beef with his ops had made Skrilla a target without him fully understanding the risk he was walking into. Whether Q50 knew the attack was coming, or simply could not prevent it in a city where Bloodhound members were being actively hunted, Skrilla came away from the experience feeling that Q50 had not fully had his back when it counted. He said it on camera in a Media Day freestyle, bars that fans in Philly drill circles decoded immediately as shots at Q50, suggesting Q50 did not return fire during the incident, that he was not a real friend in the moment. Then on his track Die For Me, he went further. He rapped about getting hit and eating it, about his drills turning into something harder, about moving through real situations while others watched. The message was direct. He took the bullet, he handled it, and he was not going to pretend the person beside him that night deserved the same credit. Q50's response was equally direct. He called Skrilla an out-of-town goofy. 2 men who had been in each other's company, who had been building music together, now publicly on opposite sides of a public call-out. The beef between them became one of the more talked-about personal fallouts in the drill scene heading into 2025. But to understand why Skrilla was in Chicago in the first place, why the ambush happened, and why Q50 has been moving the way he has been moving, you need the full picture of the Bloodhound and Risky Road war. Bloodhound is centered around 79th Street and Maryland Avenue on Chicago's south side. Risky Road is associated with 104th Street and Maryland Avenue, a separate set connected to the Four Corner Hustlers, 10 to 15 minutes apart by car. In Chicago street politics, that proximity means frequent encounters and constant pressure. The biggest single moment in this war was June 8, 2024. Lil Jeff, one of Bloodhound's most visible members, was shot 19 times in Woodlawn while allegedly chasing opponents. He died that afternoon. A man named Trap City Rob was arrested in connection with the shooting. charged initially with an armed habitual offender offense because investigators did not yet have enough direct evidence for a murder charge. The case was eventually dropped. Rob stayed relatively quiet after his release, but people following the story online noted that he would later allegedly make statements many interpreted as placing himself at the center of what happened that day. Risky Road's response to Jeff's death was not quiet. Members and affiliates associated with the set allegedly made his killing a recurring topic, posting about it publicly, referencing it in music, turning it into an ongoing taunt directed at Bloodhound. For a crew that had just lost one of its most important figures, that mockery was not something that was going to be absorbed quietly. The situation between Bloodhound and Risky Road had actually been building before Jeff's death. Through a connected conflict involving Lil 30 from Get Busy Gang, a set tied closely to Risky Road. According to what circulated online, Lil 30 was involved in an incident where he allegedly took a firearm from an affiliate connected to Drench Gang and Nelambite Lil O, then made the move public on social media, rather than staying quiet about it. The taunting brought attention and escalated things quickly. Not long after, Lil 30 was chased down and fatally shot. His death hit Risky Road personally. He had strong ties to that set. Lil Scoom, closely associated with Bloodhound and known to be tight with both Q50 and Lil Jeff, began heavily trolling Lil 30's death online. He mocked him repeatedly through social media posts, aimed directly at Risky Road. For a set that viewed Lil 30 as one of their own, the disrespect made Scoom a primary target. Risky Road made clear they were not going to let it continue without a response. On July 7, 2024, roughly a month after Lil Jeff was killed, Lil Scoom was drawn to a residential location. Surveillance footage showed him arriving at the address around 9:20 p.m. with a friend and a woman. According to accounts that spread online, Scoom allegedly sensed something was wrong before leaving the property, even reaching out to his mother during that stretch. When he and his associate Lil Will stepped outside, they were ambushed. Scoom was hit with multiple gunshot wounds to the chest. Lil Will was struck in the legs. Police arrived within minutes to an active scene with shots allegedly still being fired. Scoom was found near the same location where the surveillance footage had placed him earlier that night. He did not survive. A post circulated afterward from a Risky Road affiliate referencing getting back for Lil 30, widely read as a direct acknowledgement of why the attack happened. The casualties did not stop there. CEO Hawam, associated with Risky Road, was later killed during a shooting while hanging out of a vehicle during what was described as a drill. He was struck in the head. He was rushed to the hospital and died 2 days later. In the aftermath, multiple names in the Bloodhound, Drench Gang, and Shorty Mob circles were mentioned online in connection with what happened, though nothing was officially confirmed. Baby Splat, a Shorty Mob affiliate, referenced the incident on his track F12 with lyrics many fans decoded as describing the shooting directly. Big O from Drench Gang posted a Lil Scoom tribute that most people in the community read as a signal that the retaliation had been delivered. Q50 went to the studio and made his position clear. He released King Draco, framed as a tribute to Lil Jeff but packed with direct shots at Risky Road, rapping about head taps, about his enemies not being ready, about catching a shot but still standing. With those bars out in public and the ongoing rumors about his involvement in Hawam's death circulating across every platform covering Chicago drill, Q50 became Risky Road's primary target heading into the months that followed. And that is the full picture. The studio shooting that put Skrilla and Q50 on opposite sides was not random violence. It was Bloodhound's enemies taking their shot at anyone in Q50's orbit. Skrilla was collateral damage in a war he did not fully understand he was stepping into. His frustration with Q50 makes sense in that context, even if Q50's side reads the situation differently. What does not change is that the war between Bloodhound and Risky Road is still active, still claiming casualties, and still generating the kind of heat that follows anyone who moves through those spaces. Q50 is still out here. The bodies on both sides keep adding up, and Skrilla, who flew to Chicago for a studio session and flew home with a bullet wound, is now a public face of just how far the reach of that conflict actually extends. Drop a comment. Who do you think has the stronger position in this situation, Skrilla or Q50?